Sunshine is a difficult Mario game, not only as a 3D platformer, but there are also many occasions in the game where your path to success isn't immediately obvious. But what would happen if we cranked those two things up to 1,000? What if every level in Super Mario Sunshine was not only a platforming nightmare, but on top of that, I had to actually use my brain to make my way through the game? What would happen if the floor in Super Mario Sunshine became lava? Okay, so let's discuss what Super Mario Sunshine, but the floor is lava, really is. Most of the ground all across Isle Delfino has been replaced with deadly lava. Now, this isn't your baby mode floor is lava like you might see with Odyssey or 64. If Mario touches this texture, then he immediately dies. But, you may be asking at this point, how was it decided on what became lava and what didn't? Well, that was all up to Master Matt K, the creator of this mod. He did a mix of what felt right to him while also trying to make an interesting challenge. For instance, he basically took a scorched earth approach to all the main levels, leaving very little for Mario to walk on. But for the secrets, on the other hand, he took a much more charitable approach, instead electing to make interesting twists with the lava. But despite his somewhat charitable approach to secrets, let me tell you, after playing this hack, I am fairly certain Matthew is a sadist. But you guys will see that for yourselves. As for the rules, there was really only one put in place. No major skips unless they're 100% necessary to continue. Sequence breaks are allowed though, but doing something like Gelato Beach skip or early Yoshi ground could only be broken out in case of an emergency. Okay, all of that aside, this is how I attempted to beat Super Mario Sunshine, but the floor is lava. So, starting with Airstrip, of course, I figured the best plan of action was to go straight for the water. To make my way over to the water safely, I had to use the heads of the various toads since I couldn't make it all the way with a spin jump dive. And after only a few failed attempts, I was finally able to spin jump over to the green toad and dive off of him into the water. But once I got Mario in the water, a new problem emerged. What do I do now? After trying some wall jumping shenanigans, an idea popped into my head. What if I could somehow damage boost Mario onto land? And it was here I learned one of my most valuable lessons. Damage boosting works. By using the invulnerability frames from taking damage to drowning, I could get Mario to momentarily walk on lava. And after only a second attempt, I was able to use those few frames of invincibility to get to this palm tree, where I was able to enter the flood cutscene trigger. But I had another idea of how to do airstrip, so I killed Mario to sate my curiosity. My new method was to try and see if I could damage boost Mario from the weird goop mound thing to the center of the airstrip, which I was able to do, but it took me some time to get. I finally obtained Flood and went to kill the Polluted Piranha, which was made easy by the water tank. So now, it was time for the plaza. The trick here was just to stick to the rooftops, nothing special. After I killed the Polluted Piranha the same way I always did as a kid because I was too scared of them, it was time for our good old friend, Shadow Mario. And oh man, just like the Barrel's only challenge run, link in the iCard, Shadow Mario would end up being the most tedious theme of this run, and after showing you this embarrassing death, let me show you why. Every time you get a chance to spray Shadow Mario, he runs. And since there isn't any kind of auto-aim feature in Sunshine, rightfully so, I may add, it's very hard to hit him when he's on the run. So Shadow Mario fights basically just end up boiling down to chase, stop, spray, repeat. And you repeat that a lot. But wait, there's more. So not only do you have to do this tedious dance with Shadow Mario, but you also have to find a way to actually talk to him once you've downed him, which requires standing on the ground, which is obviously an issue since most of it is incredibly deadly to Mario. So my first plan was to down Shadow Mario by this lip in the ground and hope it was close enough for Mario to talk to him. It wasn't, but luckily I had a backup idea. What if there was a way for me to immediately hover after talking to him? Could it be done? Well, after a few attempts at talking to Shadow Mario, some ending in a soft lock, I finally got the dialogue to appear. And fortunately, my plan worked exactly as I expected. Or should I say, unfortunately. Here's a twist I found out while editing the footage and being a little sketched out. It just so happens that there was a missing piece of lava collision right where I decided to try this. Yeah, so I would end up wasting a collective hour or two on this hover method with future Shadow Marios because I thought it worked, when in reality there was just a small mistake made here. And don't worry, for the sake of the video, I went back and found a way to properly talk to Shadow Mario using this manual, so it's all good. So moving on to Shadow Mario, after you talk to him, I struggled to find a way to actually get close enough to him without dying. Either way though, since the cutscene actually teleports Mario, death was unavoidable here, which actually isn't very much of a problem since you spawn right in front of the end portal with the cutscene completed and all. Very convenient. Bianco started off pretty interesting. After jumping from a palm tree to the wall, I was able to make my way over into the water by using some of the trees to get there. And after using the spider like you normally would in a speedrun, I was able to make it onto the windmill and then to Petey. After a few failed attempts anyways, but we can brush those off to the side. So once I actually got into the Petey fight, things got pretty, how do you put it? Annoying. You see, normally if you just get real close to PD, behind him or to his side, then he'll face you and begin inhaling. Of course, that's a lot harder to do when you can't walk on 99% of the floor, so I basically just had to wait for PD to face me to even get a chance at damaging him, but overall, the fight wasn't actually that hard, and after a stupid death, I was finally able to take PD down. Moving on to Bianco 3, it started the same as Bianco 1.5 did, as you may be able to guess. Once on the wall, I elected to go right this time, where I was able to get into the water and pull some strats from the last level. I used the spider to get a super high jump and hover into the loading zone, which I surprisingly pulled off on my first try. And by the way, you may have noticed that Mario died after I got him into the loading zone. Once Mario is in a loading zone, Sunshine doesn't care what state Mario is in. Dead or alive, Mario will load into the intended level, as long as he didn't die before hitting the loading zone. A vanilla example of this happening is in Rico 2, like this. I wanted to clear that up, just in case anyone is confused by that. Anyways, once into the cave secret, I actually died in game over, but once I got back in, I was pretty easily able to get to the Cheez-It block section, where my plan of action was to try and get on top of the giant glass cube blocks and go from there. And after falling off the second block, I realized I could actually just skip that one and just go from the first one to the third one. And from there, I carefully jumped across the star platforms, which were cleverly designed by Matthew, I may add. I then got the shine spray, and it was time for Bianco 4, which was basically the same as ever, since all the red coins are on the walls and rooftops, although that didn't stop me from being stupid and still dying. Hey look, my stream just got rated on Twitch, and I was trying to show off in front of the new viewers. Yep, that's my excuse. Twitch.tv/xangry_maxhex, no capitals, no spaces by the way. Either way, I quickly redid Bianco 4 and moved on to Bianco 5. It was a bit of a challenge actually getting up to PD and waking him up, but once I did, the fight went as you would expect, even if I did die a few times over the course of the battle. I sprayed PD out of the sky from the rooftops, and only came down once I force-fed him enough water to deal damage. Although one thing I will mention is I actually had to use a rotating platform to get a better angle on PD, which was pretty cool. Can't name the last time I had to spray one of these things. And after probably way too much time spent, I finally delivered the last blow to PD, and so it was time for Bianco 6. Getting to the secret itself was pretty trivial, not just because the lily pads in the water exist for a reason, but also because the water's collision was messed up somewhere in the development of this mod, so it actually didn't damage Mario. I tried to not take too much advantage of it and was able to make my way to the lake secret, where I immediately died because of muscle memory. On my second attempt, I was able to make it from the tree to the flip panels, where I died again. And I would end up dying here a few times trying to manage the cycles of the flip panels before realizing I could just get to the star platform if I was fast enough. After riding the magical Rubik's Cube, I tried making a jump onto the little right angle thing, but failed and died instead. After having to redo the previous section, I made it back and was able to safely get onto the platform with a spin jump. And after I was told this section might not even be possible by the creator of the mod himself, I made it onto the yellow wall, but then died. Not wanting to prove Matthew right, I made my way back to the right angle platform thing and jumped off of the moving red arrow things and made it onto the second magical Rubik's Cube. Now, this next and final section of the level was a bit of a nightmare. It was like the first section, but on crack. I kind of brushed over this earlier, but what makes these flip panel sections so hard is that there are periods where both the red and blue panels are flipped so that the lava is on top. And additionally, I had to find a way to get onto the palm tree if I even wanted a chance of getting to the shine, since it's so far away. But because I'm me, I refused to give up, so finally, after many attempts, I did this. Okay, it might be possible. Now, that may not look all that special to you guys, especially if you're not into Sunshine speedrunning, but in that failure, I saw potential for something called a momentum spin jump. Without going too much into the mechanics of how they work, you can watch Average Trey's videos on spin jumps if you're curious. I can basically tell you that momentum spin jumps are spin jumps on steroids. They're faster, they go higher, and as long as you have a slope, you can pull one off. And after quite a few attempts, this happened. That was a momentum spin jump. Oh! Holy crap. Holy crap. I did not think that was going to be possible at first. That's actually so hype. Since this is obviously edited down, I just want to let you know that this level took me half an hour to complete. That might not sound that bad until you realize I was using save states throughout most of the secret. But what's worse was that Shadow Mario took me even longer than that. Over the period of 40 minutes, I tried many different strats on Shadow Mario before I found one that worked. I'm gonna skip right to how I succeeded against him since everything before that was honestly really quite boring. Basically, I was able to down Shadow Mario by dealing a ton of damage to him while he's on this rooftop, and since there's no lava up there, I could easily talk to him without risking death. Once I collected my shine, Bianco was a wrap, and it was time for the next world. Okay. Sticking to the 80% route, I decided my next destination was Gelato Beach. But first, I decided I may as well unlock Rico, since doing it later would create headaches later down the road. It was unnoteworthy minus the fact that Mario had to die for the sake of progress, and it was the same story, different circumstances for unlocking Gelato. As for Gelato itself, well, it was quite literally a fiery hellscape. My only real option was to go for the water and somehow find a way out of the water and onto the non-deadly parts of the land. I slowly made my way over towards the GPS hut and climbed on top. I honestly wasn't really sure what I could do from that point. I was just kind of going with the flow, doing what I could. From the GPS hut, I made my way towards the boardwalk, but died because the water here was too shallow. And get this, Master Matt K made an interesting design choice with Gelato Beach that he also meant to do with Bianco Hills. You can see for yourself. Oh, no. Fuck you, Matthew. Yeah, so a death equals 2 deaths. Even getting a shine sprite still equals a death. That means that anytime I left the level for any reason, I had to make my way back to the portal again. Classic Matthew move, let me tell you guys. Moving on from that, I had to redo the 2 polluted piranhas because I game overed and didn't save. I made my way back into Gelato, and this time I just went straight for the boardwalk. I was able to make my way down the boardwalk towards the beach, and with a spin jump and well-timed hover, I was able to make it to the beach sailboat. From there, I sprayed the Doom Bud that opens up the sandcastle, and then wasn't sure what to do from there. I tried making my way into the water, then into the loading zone, but not only did that seem to be too slow as you're on a timer with the sandcastle, but I also just died anyway since Mario touched the lava when landing in the water. I tried again, this time with some accidentally sick cataquack strats to get into the water faster, but even then I couldn't get enough distance out of the water to make it to the loading zone. And after a few more attempts with some slightly altered strats, I tried something pretty interesting. What if I jumped off the cataquack instead of going into the water? My first attempt at this method failed miserably, but my second attempt had some real promise behind it. If I could get a bit lucky with how the cataquacks align themselves, I just might be able to pull off this strat. Too bad for me though, because no matter how much I tried, the closest cataquack to the castle never was quite close enough for Mario to bounce off of. Man, my voice is cracked. So, I took some time to deliberate and mull over my options. A lot of time. I tried a variety of different strats, like seeing if a momentum spin jump off a smear would get Mario any meaningful amount of distance. It didn't. I tried the cataquack bouncing strat from multiple different spots before I got a pretty promising attempt from the other sailboat. And after many attempts, some closer than others, I finally managed to pull it off. Yes! Oh my god! Oh! Holy crap! Finally made it! Oh! Yeah, so if my reaction, or the countless deaths I showed you didn't tell you, that took me a long time to get. I honestly wasn't even sure if it was possible until I made it. So, when I finally did make it, I popped off. And then, after a few mistakes, I was pretty easily able to beat the sandcastle secret. Using the same starting route as before, I was able to make it to the mirrors for Gelato's second shine. The first and second mirror weren't all that bad, but let me tell you, the third mirror easily made getting to the sandcastle secret look like a piece of cake. Why that's the case may not look obvious to you, so let me get into why. Oh, never mind. Oh no, it is. It's a crash. Okay. No, you don't need to fix it, Matthew. Oh, what? Oh, it just played the cutscene again. Okay, that's weird. Well, kind of did. That's like cutscene buffers thing. Now, Mario being teleported after the third mirror may look unavoidable to you at first, but I had an extra trick up my sleeve, and no, it wasn't skipping the level using GPS. Kinda. Just like in my hardcore run of Sunshine, I knew that if I used GPS to not skip past anything, but instead to just sequence break Gelato, I could get the rocket nozzle into Gelato Beach episode 2. And if you're curious why I'd want a rocket nozzle, well, I'll show you how that helps me after we get to the new issue. How to actually do Gelato Beach skip. First things first, I'd get a coconut, which you can get from this tree here. Next, with the help of save states, I was able to throw the coconut onto the boardwalk in a spot where Mario could pick it up without dying. I'd of course get Mario to pick up the coconut, then make his way down the boardwalk towards the hut, careful not to touch the deadly parts of it. I then got Mario to place down the coconut, centered my camera to get the proper alignment for the clip, then performed GBS like normal. Slight bit of input delay. There we go. There we go. Okay. From there, I entered episode 5, which is where I could get the rocket nozzle unlocked for Gelato. And from here, I hit my next roadblock. How to actually obtain the rocket nozzle. You see, to actually get it unlocked for every episode within Gelato Beach, I had to find a way to get the save prompt to pop up. That's normally not something you have to think about, but when Mario instantly dies after collecting the nozzle, you just don't get the chance to save. That's where, once again, damage boosting came in. If I could find a way to make Mario take damage, probably from falling, then the few frames of invulnerability will give the game just enough time to pop up the save prompt before killing Mario off. Now, it took me a few tries, but I was able to use this mirror to get enough height to successfully take fall damage and get the rocket nozzle save prompt to show up. And by the way, if you're wondering how it's even possible to take fall damage on the lava, so am I. I'm not really sure how it works, but there seems to be some sort of coin flip on whether Mario will take damage or just die. So I may have just unlocked the rocket nozzle for use in Gelato 2, but I wasn't quite out of the water yet. I now had to find a way to obtain the rocket nozzle without dying within Gelato 2. It took me some tries, but to get the nozzle, my strategy was to jump off of the nozzle box up onto the cliff right next to it. I'd then use the cliff to get back to the fruit hut. From here, I would try to use the cliff once again to get enough height to take fall damage when falling on the rocket nozzle, which would hopefully give me just enough time to make it to the water. And after a surprisingly small amount of attempts, I managed to do this. There we go. We got it. We got it. We got it. We got it. From here, I got onto the swing and used a glitch called Rocket Storage to make my way over towards the mirrors. Okay, so remember how earlier I said that Gelato 2 made getting the sandcastle secret look easy? Well, I said that not counting the whole rocket nozzle saga before that point. You see, over the course of 15 minutes, I had to try and try again this one little trick to survive the cutscene for the third mirror. Now, 15 minutes may not sound like a lot to you, but similarly to Bianco 6, consider the fact that these 15 minutes I kept retrying the same 10 seconds of gameplay using save states. 15 minutes suddenly has a lot more gravity to it, huh? So what was so precise that I needed to reset the same 10 seconds of gameplay for 15 minutes, you might be asking? Well, to explain, first I'm going to show you guys a trick often used in Sunshine speedrunning. You see, in Sunshine, there are these types of cutscenes that teleport Mario without pausing the game. During these cutscenes, Sunshine doesn't actually take away any momentum Mario had before being teleported, so you can actually get Mario to keep moving during these cutscenes. If you're familiar with the any percent category, this is what we do to get Mario closer to the Gelato M portal after unlocking the lighthouse. This principle can be carried over into Gelato 2 and is used for the mirror cutscene in categories like 120 or 96 shrines to get Mario closer to where he needs to be after the cutscene. Now, going back into Floor's Lava, my goal was that during the cutscene, I wanted to move Mario from the deadly lava onto the safe roof of the fruit hut. Sounds simple, huh? Well, there's one more caveat. You see, no matter how much upwards momentum I could give Mario using the rocket nozzle, he always gets teleported onto the ground during the cutscene, which, of course, isn't any good. So, the obvious answer is to damage boost Mario into the cutscene, which I could obviously do with fall damage, but that creates its own issues, which is that using the rocket nozzle soon after landing results in one of the many ways to perform rocket storage, which in this case meant that despite the rocket going off, Mario wouldn't launch, which is no good for obvious reasons. So, before the cutscene even began, I had to get Mario to fall from high enough to take fall damage while also falling from low enough that Mario could jump and rocket right before the cutscene. And on top of that, I had to be sure that I did everything late enough so that his invulnerability frames carried over into the cutscene. The end result hopefully would be Mario landing on top of the fruit hut if I did everything correctly. Oh yeah, also keep in mind what I told you earlier, that it's complete chance if Mario would take fall damage when falling onto lava, since there's a pretty good chance it'll just kill him straight away. So, after many tries, I finally got this to happen. Oh! I actually just got it, but I don't think I'm gonna land on the hut. Where? I'm on the hut! I'm on the hut! I did it! Woohoo! Save stating up this bitch. Fuck it, let's go. That took so long. Sorry for maxing out my mic. Yeah, I was pretty excited. Not just at the prospect of finally getting the trick after so many tries, but having something so technical make its way from my brain into gameplay is quite an elating feeling. From there, I cleared the other 2 mirrors, and once again used rocket storage to this time get the shine sprite. Man, I had to work for that shine. As for Wiggler, the fight wasn't all that bad. Similar to PD2, I stayed up high until it was time to deal damage, nothing really special. Although I did have to get a little creative with the final Dune Bud, both for how to activate it, and I used it to get to the shine sprite. Sandbird was basically vanilla, and for Piantissimo, I had to get the rocket nozzle if I wanted a chance. It was a bit of a challenge actually getting close enough to Piantissimo with the rocket nozzle, but once I did, I just got to the hut and used rocket storage to skip straight to the flag, which left the race surprisingly close. Red coins in the coral reef was the same as it ever was, and so it was time for Shadow Mario. So look, I spent an abhorrent amount of time here, and as I mentioned earlier with the Plaza Shadow Mario, it's because I thought hovering out of his dialogue was a legitimate way to win. So I spent a lot of time on a strat that I thought I was just getting unlucky with. But as it turns out, instead of being unlucky, I actually got quite lucky. And this is because 45 minutes into this level, yes, 45 minutes, while trying to use a fall damage boost strat, I got hit by these bees, which gave Mario just enough invulnerability to last through the text box and get off the ground. From here, I hovered over to the tree and collected the shine. I don't know what just happened. I don't know what I just did. Take a clip of that for me, please. No idea what I just did right there. But it worked. And I ain't complaining about that at all. Moving on to Pianta, I made a bit of a mistake. I somehow lost the footage for Pianta 1 and also Pianta 2, so everything you see for Pianta 1 is re-recorded off stream. Unfortunately, since I don't have the original footage, I can't really get this across to you guys, but Pianta 1 took upwards of an hour, probably upwards of 2 hours. Obviously, the intended way to do this level is impossible since Mario can't grab the tails of the chain chomplets without touching lava, so instead, I had to find a way to lure the chomplets into the water, which is certainly much easier said than done. Even without lava, it's pretty hard to just lure them into the water. I, however, found 2 main ways to lure them into the water. Either A, you get them in through this gap in the boxes, lure it to the left like this, then you can make them chase Mario into the water if you're in the right spot. Or B, you can lure them into the water from the other side just like this. I forgot to put this in the script, but you can also make him go in the water by just doing this, but it's a bit more precise. What made this hard in the first place is that the chain chomplets typically like to avoid going into the water on their own, so you actually have to be pretty precise with Mario's positioning, not just in space, but also in time to even have a chance at getting them going in. Moving on from Pianta 1 was Pianta 2, which has a bit of a funny story attached to it. You see, when I first tried this episode, I just couldn't do it. Long story short, I had a bad route, but like Pianta 1, the footage of my attempts of that bad route were lost. Luckily, it wasn't until the next stream where I actually beat Piantissimo, and it was actually pretty easy with the new route in hand, as long as I got some momentum spin jumps in there. It took me only about 5 minutes to beat Piantissimo to the flag, with a bit of a photo finish I may add. There we go, got it! Let's go! The Goopy Inferno wasn't that bad, considering the whole gimmick of the level already is the floor is lava. At first, I thought I could just take the intended route to FLUDD, but when that looked a bit too challenging, I realized I could just go for the big tree to the left and jump from there to the platform with FLUDD on it. But even from there, I couldn't just make a jump for FLUDD, so what I did instead was jump to one of the nearby mushrooms, then onto a box, then from that box, jump to FLUDD. A few more attempts than I was expecting, but it really wasn't that hard. And of course, from there, I saved the mare and moved on from Pianta 3. Next, of course, was Pianta 4, and man, oh man, out of the entire, and I really do mean entire Floor is Lava challenge. This was not only the absolutely most time consuming level, but it was maybe the most infuriating level. It took me 3 hours on stream and at least 1 more hour off stream to complete this level. What was so bad about it, you may ask? Well, freeing the chain jump wasn't bad, since there's a block there to help Mario out. Getting the chain jump to go towards the bath wasn't all that hard either. The most infuriating part was the very ending. You see, in Speedruns to Sunshine, we employ 2 tricks to make the chain jump fast. First, since the chain jump never will path towards Mario, we can manipulate the chain jump to go straight for the path without ever having to pull the chain jump towards it. The second trick we use is what actually makes the chain jump go into the bath, since it won't go in all on its own. When the chain jump turns away from the bath, you can grab its chain to push it in, rather than pull it in. In The Floor is Lava, these 2 tricks are 100% necessary, since you can't pull the chain jump for obvious reasons. So, with a precise route, you can actually get the chain jump to path towards the bath. But this is where it gets really hard. Not only do you have to be really fast and precise to even get a chance to grab the chain jump's chain at the end, but there's a decent chance that Sunshine will just be Sunshine and randomly push Mario off the block at the end. And to just put a cherry on top, the original clip I got when I finally got the chain jump in the bath is gone. For some reason, I just kept losing footage in Pianta. Don't ask. Luckily, I showed this clip on the stream thereafter, so I still technically have the clip, so here it is. Now, watching this, it probably doesn't look that bad, but just know that every little minute movement was made with intention and purpose, to both go fast while also making sure the chain jump takes the correct path. Otherwise, there's not really much else to say. This level was just me trying the same thing over and over again for multiple hours. But let me tell you, once I got it, it felt great. Well, mostly anyways. There was a small portion of me that was like, what am I doing with my life? But that kind of comes with the territory of being both a challenge runner and a speedrunner. Going into Pianta 5, it was easy. Since Yoshi skip is a thing, and it doesn't skip any shine sprites, making it into the Chuckster secret was only a step away from being vanilla. As for the secret itself, like most secrets, it wasn't all that bad. Some challenging jumps here and there, but I mostly breezed through it. I even technically got an early cycle. Technically, okay? Moving on to Pianta Village, episode 6, there was nothing really that crazy going on. Don't get me wrong, it was quite a challenging level. I even ran out of water once. It's just that all I really had to do was just go fast. No special strats or anything of that nature, just some good old speed. And finally for Pianta Village, of course, was Shadow Mario. Actually downing him was tedious, as one could expect. Just like Gelato, I tried many things, including trying to hover out of his dialogue, but what ended up working for me was damage boosting off of one of the wind spirits. Although, where this strat differed from Gelato was that I damage boosted here with intention rather than basically on complete accident. Like with many of these levels, it took me a long time to figure out what to do, but there's unfortunately not a whole lot for me to comment on here. Clip it, clip it, clip it, clip it. Let's go. Okay, so this video is already way longer than I wanted it to be, and I'm only halfway through all the Floor is Lava footage, so I'm gonna cut it off here, and you guys are unfortunately gonna have to wait for part 2 to drop, which I'm hoping to get out in the next week or 2, although it could end up being more. And trust me, there is some crazy stuff in part 2, and I'm not just saying that to build anticipation, like genuinely, there is some crazy stuff. And if you're watching by the time part 2 comes out, well, I guess none of this applies to you. You now have something else to do after this video. Either way, I've been Angry Max, and later.